Solidarity. I want to welcome all of you in this Tuesday, the day of the 12th of May, in Potchefstroom University. So we are going to start with our program. I'm the program director for the day. Like I've mentioned, my name, I'm Zipporah Babani. So I'm going to ask all of you, all the gentlemen that take their heads off, we sing the national anthem. Kosikeleli Afrika, manupagamisu pondolayo, izwa imitandazo yetu, Kosikelela, lusapolayo, morena buluka sechaba sa Yesu. Ufedise tintole maswenye usibuluke sichabasa Yesu sichabasa South Africa Edilog van onze we are not on time to start with our program, but without any waste of time, I'm going to call Ms. Jacqueline Johnson van Fier to come and do a welcoming remark.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Good. Okay, good morning, distinguished guests and members of the Archives community. On behalf of the Northwest University, the Records Archives and Museum Department, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Potchefstroom campus for Day 5 of the National Archives Awareness Week. So this year's theme, Archives for Justice, and today's focus on sustainable archives reminds us of the important role of archives playing in preserving our history, supporting accountability and protecting institutional and societal memory for future generations. So we are very honored to host today's engagements and extend our sincere appreciation to the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, the National Archives and Records Service of South Africa, the Northwest Provincial Archives, all speakers, organizers, and attendees for making this program possible. So we trust that today's engagements will be insightful and meaningful. So a hearty welcome from the Northwest University, and we wish you a successful and productive day ahead. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are so appreciative of the warm welcoming from Mayor Jacqueline Johnson van Rensburg. So without any waste of time, I'll be calling Ms. Mchupe Tang, who's going to do the reflections.
And good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Mchupe Tang from the Department of Art, Culture, Sport and Recreation in the Northwest Northwest Province. So my work today, it is not much, just to give a brief reflection, and the reflection it will be on the gender-based violence and femicide. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and members of the community, as we gather during Annual Archives Awareness Week, hosted by our department in collaboration with the National Department and other stakeholders, we are reminded that archives are not only about preserving documents and records, but also about preserving truth, memory, and the life experience of our people in the Northwest Province. Today, as we reflect on the gender-based violence and femicide, commonly known as GBVF, we are confronted by the painful realities reflected in our national and provincial statistics. South Africa continues to experience alarming levels of violence against women and children. According to recent South African SAPS statistics, more than 42 people rape cases were reported nationally during the 2023-24 reporting period, while thousands of women lost their lives due to violence and femicide. In 2025, the situation continues to demand urgent attention. Reports indicate that nationally more than 9,000 GBVF perpetrators were arrested between January and May 2025. For crimes including rape, assault, and murder. Here in the Northwest Province, violent crimes affecting vulnerable groups remains a serious concern, with reported increases in crimes such as kidnapping, assault, and other GBVF-related offenses. The statistics remind us that gender-based violence and femicide is not only a national crisis, but also a community challenge that affects families, workplaces, schools, and society as a whole. It is therefore important that institutions such as archives continue to preserve their stories and records with dignity and responsibility. Archives becomes instruments of justice, education, and accountability. They ensure that victims are not forgotten, survivors are acknowledged, and future generations learn from the past. Through documentation and awareness, we strengthen advocacy efforts and contribute towards building safer communities. As the province, we have a collective responsibility to use our cultural, education, and heritage platforms to promote human dignity, equality, and respect. Through partnership between government, communities, and civil society, we can continue advancing awareness and prevention programs aimed at ending gender-based violence and femicide. So, let this week inspire all of us to use archives, not only to preserve history, but also to become voices for social change, healing, and hope for future generations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Menchu Petang, for that wonderful presentation on this issue of gender-based violence. I think the students that are in here have got a lot of information in relation to what you presented to them. And it's very important for them to make sure we have those records in our archives for all those perpetrators and also those people that have been abused in this regard. So without any waste of time, I'm just going to call Mayor Dr. Maite Mangani from the North Provincial Archives, who's going to tell us about the purpose of the day, why we are here today, currently here. Thank you very much.
Good morning, colleagues. Let me appreciate the presence of our learners that are here. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? for getting this opportunity to come and learn about archives. Also appreciate the presence of Professor Sarumbe, Mr. Simpiwe Stole, and all the presenters that are here, not singling anyone out, but let me just say all protocol observed. And also thank the management of the Northwest University for welcoming us and affording us a space to be here and to share the knowledge that we have about archives. The reason we are here is this week we are celebrating the National Archives Awareness Week, which is a program that was decided upon in the International Council on Archives Conference that all countries should celebrate Archives Week annually. So the decision for that was mandating that we should have Archives Awareness Week in June. However, in South Africa, the decision was appreciated, however, not with the exact date that the ICA had pronounced. So the reason is, in South Africa, we have different time schedules for our different programs. So we decided to do it in May, necessarily because in June, it affects our school learners program. In June, we know that at school, it's exam time. So we're struggling to have school learners participating in the program. And school learners are at the core of this program because they are we say they are the future leaders of tomorrow. So, and then if they are future leaders of tomorrow, to us as archivists or as archives and records management profession, we say they are our partners of today. So that's why it's important that we have them participating in the program, and that's why it was shifted to May. So the official launch of the program took place on the 8th of May in Mafikeng, and then it proceeded on Saturday, where we have a panel discussion with provincial heads of all provincial archives in the country. We're sharing their best practices in different repositories. And then yesterday we had the official opening, which happened in Mafikeng. So today we are here to continue, and we will be doing this until Friday. So the aim of the program is to popularize the archives and records management profession, and also to engage communities about the importance of archive in preservation of societal memory. So also during this week we aim to promote the importance of record keeping practices, because before we can have an archive, it means we had had a record before. So a record needs to be properly cared for so that it can be preserved later. And when we say it needs to be properly cared for, it's because there are prescripts and standards that need to be followed in making sure that that record can live up to its preservation stage, given that it has a provincial or either national significance. It either promotes the heritage of the province or the heritage of the country. So also it's a week where we want to allow the public to access repositories to witness our functions as archives and our services as archives. So this is not happening only in Northwest, but it's happening in all provinces within the country, where, you know, normally to access an archive repositories, there are processes that you will need to follow. But for this week, it's just an open tour that you can get in archives, where you don't have to follow the processes that are in place. So that is that week that you can access it without any hassle. So all archive repositories in the country are open for access this week. And also just to conscientize the public that Us as archivists and records management professionals, together with the public, we are all custodians of our collective memory. So even ordinary citizens can then contribute into the archival collection through different programs that are offered in archives. One which is oral history, where we encourage that communities should record and document their own histories so that it can be preserved in archival repositories. So, and also we want to inspire appreciation of archives from the public at large. So we want to use this week to reaffirm our collective responsibility to preserving the country's memory for generations to come. So this is all about this week. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Maite.
Dr. Maite, thank you very much for the presentation and the issue here, telling the learners the purpose why we are here today. They also became aware the aim of popularizing the profession here, archivist, and then also the issue how they can visit archives and repositories, so where they will get more information about this profession and also all information related to what they are in need of. So without any waste of time, colleagues, I'm going to call our guest speaker, who I have a profile, his profile here. Our guest speaker is Mr. Manenche from the Department of Education. Before I can call him, I'm going to read his profile in here. Or who is Mr. Manenche? Mr. Jake Manenche from the Department of Education. Mr. Jake Manenche is an experienced history educational specialist with a career spanning nearly 4 decades. This professional began as a secondary school history teacher in the Vembe district before progressing to become a lecturer, subject advisor, and ultimately Limpopo history subject manager, a position he held since 2009. His academic qualifications include a BA from University of South Africa, BA Honours from University of Limpopo, and a master's degree in history from University of Pretoria. He played a significant national role in history curriculum development and assessment, serving on the national training team for NCS and CAPS as a history examiner and a chief examiner. And currently, he is an internal moderator for the grade 12 national question papers. In addition to his profession, he's an accomplished author of provincial and national study guides, co-author of grade 11 and grade 12 history textbook for Via Africa. And he's a member of the ministerial task team, reference group responsible for rewriting the national history curricula. That's the background and the profile of Mr. Jake Manenche. So without any waste of time, can we stand and maybe clap hands for him so that he can ascend the stage?
Program Director, thank you so much. I think I have a teacher's voice for everyone who can hear me. For recording purpose, okay, thank you. Thank you. Let me take this opportunity. Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to thank perhaps first the local organizing committee, the LOC, for inviting me to this occasion. As she was introducing me, I was listening because I don't often get this opportunity of listening to my introduction. And it sounds better than what I am, let me thank the National Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, the National Archives, the department at provincial level, the provincial archives, and our host here, the university. I think this is very, very key in terms of playing a role in community development as an outreach that empowers everyone. To the educators, I see you as my colleagues. I'm a history teacher. Okay, I happen to be in an office now. And when I see learners, I know my job is safe, because when you're a history teacher, you need learners. And I acknowledge your presence. And leaving no one, I'm very honored to be here. To talk about the importance of archives to history as in school curriculum. I have a few things to share, and I thought the starting point should be where history is at school level now. And I thought I should present it through this title. So my presentation will follow the title, From Dust to Data That Rewrites History and Transforms Governance, the Essence of Archives. From Dust to Data That Rewrites History and Transforms Governance, the Essence of Archives. According to CATS, that is the current policy at school level, history is a process of inquiry that enables learners to achieve its aims and acquire a prescribed, I will repeat that, a prescribed skills starting from the intermediate phase up to the FET phase. That is from grade 4 to grade 12. The very first skill in the CATS document, there is at the beginning a table with 2 columns. The left-hand column is the skill. The right hand is how to achieve that skill. I'm going to upfront state 3 skills only. The very first skill is about dealing with various sources of information. For the intermediate and the senior phase, it reads best, finding a variety of kinds of information about the past. So that is what is expected of a history learner from grade 4 to grade 9. These learners must find a variety of kinds of information from the past. Identify that this is kind of information from the past. But at FET, it is captured as understanding the range of sources of information available for studying the past. At GET, find sources. at FET understand the range of different sources of information about the past. What is the difference? It's only the cognitive level demand that at a lower level, learners must just see various sources. But at an FET level, learners must now start to understand that information is collected from a variety of sources of information. History learners should acquire these skills of working with sources. The only difference, as I said, is the cognitive level of the development of the learners. Now, the sources of information, as I said, it's skill number 1 out of 8. Now, this skill, as I look into it, it places the archives at the center of history, because it is the opening skill, it is the window into the subject. In this context, I think it refers to archives not only as the collection, but also the physical or the place where the collections or the materials are stored. Various kinds of these in DET are referred to the text, the visual material. This includes your cartoons, movies, then songs, poems, interviews, written information in books, magazines, newspapers, and websites. Variety of sources. And as I'm saying, skill number 1 places the archives as the center, as the pillar of the subject history. In FET, at FET level, the kind of information collected from various sources provide different perspectives on an event. For example, by finding as many of the following kinds of sources as possible, this is a higher level. Manuscripts could be handwritten, diaries, letters, notebooks, could be printed text, books, newspapers, websites, etc. Video, films, photographs, drawings, paintings of cartoons, oral sources, could be interviews, stories, could be songs. All these form part of sources of information, and they are key to history as a subject. In grade 7, topic 1 is titled Mali, or the Kingdom of Mali. Now, for us who are a bit elderly, will know that once you talk Mali, the next thing is Timbuktu. Once you talk Timbuktu, you talk the Timbuktu manuscripts. And this is what we have been talking about. Now, the topic is in the curriculum. What is it about? Mali. How do we know about Mali? Through the manuscripts that not only are limited to Mali as a country, but the continent, in terms of showing what happened then in the pre-colonial era. Historically, one would think of the Timbuktu manuscripts and how, in the not so distant past, one of our own presidents in the country, Thabo Mbeki, as the president of this country, wanted to set the manuscripts, the Timbuktu manuscripts, as a foundation for what he had in mind of reviving the African Renaissance. Mbeki looked into what is entailed in the manuscripts and how that information is vital to revive the history and to revive the continent, because that information revives the whole continent. According to the Universal Declaration of Archives, archives are described as a unique and irreplaceable heritage passed from one generation to another. I was very pleased to hear from Dr. Mangai in terms of a decision that has been taken by the Council, that each country should have this celebration at least once a year. I felt the Council is giving direction to one of the most important aspects in terms of where we come from, which is vital, very important for us to know ourselves. Archives are managed from creation to preserve their value and meaning. That implies they are of crucial value in ensuring democracy, protecting human rights, and preserving collective memory. Open access to archives, which is talked about, enriches our knowledge of human society, promotes democracy, protects citizens' rights, and enhances quality of life. During the Vietnam War, 1957 to 1973, it was a Cold War, a war between the capitalists and the communists. Mainly the USA, you would say, and the support from the Soviet Union, Russia, at the time, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. During that war, which divided Vietnam into North and South. North communist, South capitalist. The Vietnamese, who were mainly peasants and fighting for communism, adopted a guerrilla tactics or strategies because they could not stand against the mighty technological warfare from the USA. And they came up with a strategy of having underground tunnels so they can hide. They had small bodies, they could hide, they could not be seen, and they would come, attack, and run away. So they came up with a strategy. The war came, the war ended. The tunnels remained. Until this day, the Vietnam is using the tunnels as a way of generating income for the country through tourism. When visitors go there, it's a system. They are well maintained, they are retained, they are maintained, they are preserved because they hold collective memory for the country. Very important. The third skill in this table talks to, at GET, trusting the information. Now the learners are introduced to say there are a variety of sources of information, but sometimes not all sources of information are useful for whatever thing you are looking at. And not all sources of information would be relevant. Therefore, a learner should be able to identify what is relevant, which source can be trusted and not. That is now another level. At FET, this is called evaluating the reliability and the usefulness of this source. To both the archives and history, provenance is key. The provenance talks to the origin, to the author. Where does this come from? Who produced this? At FET, and this is what we do, those who are history learners or history teachers would know that in the question papers that they find, there are questions which are regarded as high order source-based questions. That does not ask for information from the source, but that requires learners to evaluate whether the source can be useful, whether the source has limitations, or whether the source is reliable. It's a high order question of evaluating the source. And this is required by the cognitive level, which is linked with what the archives actually are in terms of sources of information. In history as a subject, we simply call this the 5 Ys, the Ws, the 5 Ws, I mean to say. When we see information, the first thing is what about it? What is it about? The event, the action, what happened? Who was the author? When? The date? Where? The place? Or published? Place, physical place, or published? Why? Purpose? And you can have a parcella by how. But these are the main aspects. That which applies as provenance to the archives equally applies to history. All source-based questions that are set for these learners, every source is contextualized. At the top, you find 5, 6 sentences that contextualize the source. This is an extract from a speech. This is a letter by, see the word, a letter, extract of a speech, testimony by, then the author. When that sentence continues, give you the date, where, the place, or published, for what purpose. So you get the picture that makes the source now contextualized and for everybody to understand. The last skill, skill number 8, I'm just giving 3, refers to engaging with issues of heritage and conservation. That these learners that we have should be introduced to issues of heritage and environment and conservation. And it is really, in terms of giving direction, I should say to the host university and the LOC, this is eye-opening to these learners, and this is really something that we should be happy about in terms of giving direction to the future. Heritage and conservation. Learners should be able to explain how and why people and events are publicly remembered. Archives Week. In a community, in a town, in a city, in a province, in a country, why do we celebrate this? It also involves investigating how people and events in the past commemorated in ceremonies, celebrations, museums, monuments. It also concerns the way the events of the past are portrayed in museums and monuments and in traditions. It includes the issue of also what we should take note of. Sometimes whose past is remembered and whose past has been left unrecognized. Or, for example, how a monument or museum could be made more inclusive. at this stage, our learners are introduced into that. It is prescribed. The issue of public representation in the school curriculum is achieved through research project. Learners are given a number of tasks to perform in a year. The program of assessment. Amongst them, they would have, okay, tests, they would have this and that, but they should also have the research. And the research introduces learners to this. And this is the window, and this is the link, the direct link between the archives and the subject history. Learners get an opportunity to learn outside the classroom environment. They should be granted opportunity to visit archives. I'm very happy about the issue of having an archive week opening. And I should think where I also serve, I will push that when this week is declared at the time, it should, in terms of us at the Department of Education, it should be for us to link the activities in the classroom with the opening window as per the calendar of the Archives Week. Then that would be very useful. That is a window. It would not help to have an opening window and no learner, no teacher is aware that archives are open and ready for us to get in. It would need perhaps us to take it further in terms of making sure that it is properly used and we benefit out of it. Otherwise, it is a very good gesture. Through this research, this entails for learners learning how to formulate interview questions, because they would now ask questions. So they are introduced to oral history skills, and that starts from asking questions. Once you start with oral history, yours is to start to formulate asking questions. And then you come now to understand that oral history is not about any question. You have to know how to formulate a good oral interview question. Questions that would demand that the person that you are interviewing, the interviewee, opens up and explains, and how to manage the whole process of asking questions. This is very important, and it is happening in classroom now. It is part of the program of assessment. Learners are doing practically this in classroom, and that brings the information from the archives, and that which will also in turn goes to the archives, because the interviews, the oral interviews, can bring forth new information. That information should be collected and should be preserved. Oral history challenges learners to go beyond understanding of history as a series of facts and figures. It helps them to develop critical thinking skills. They also learn how to use logic, how to reason, to analyze, and to be able to make judgment as to what might be useful or not after they have gone through the interviews. I'm happy that some of these learners are taking part in the Nkosi Albert Mtuli, some as in the other body, the HISOP. The South African Department of Basic Education has recognized oral history education as a very effective method for learning. To celebrate this, a nationwide oral history competition has become an annual highlight of the department since 2006. The Nkosi Albert Mtuli Young Historians competition that forms part of GBE's commitment to oral history education. I would like to briefly talk a bit about the qualities of the qualities that archives possess that are key to history, so that the archives remain the anchor and key component of the subject content in school curriculum in terms of achieving the critical thinking skills. That talks to one, authenticity, the recording. I've talked earlier on about the provenance. I will not repeat. I'm just giving the specifics. The reliability, the integrity, and usability. This is what will help our learners to develop critical thinking skills. The reason why we highlight this is because there are learners, or there are beliefs either by some leaders that if you do certain subjects like history and all these issues around the archives that are not being seen to be quickly generating money, where a person goes out and say, no, I rather do accounting, I rather do something that will put me and make me in a space that I will be seen to be economically viable. It is very important that this, that grounds a person, that completes the nature of the person in terms of understanding where one comes from. That is what builds a person. Because even if one would have all the other issues regarding quickly making money, if that person is not grounded, everything else is lost. One important aspect in terms of the archives I want to point out, which is very important in understanding through the title of the paper as I indicated, is that it is very important in our context of South Africa, in our history, one, in decolonizing the curriculum. We know that our history is going through phases of changes. In the report 550, that is the old curriculum. History was Eurocentric and content-based, where what was good was knowing the names, the dates, the events. If you can just know when, what happened, who was the leader of this, that was it, content-based and Eurocentric. Now, in the context, we say the archives today can play a very critical role in decolonizing that curriculum so that it is inclusive. It includes everybody. I'm going to indicate how there were a few leaders who promoted the issues that left the understanding that Africa does not have history but only tradition. As curriculum shifts towards and expand on pre-colonial history and the resistance movement, archives are essential to introduce voices and perspectives that were previously marginalized or absent. Very key for archives. Fostering critical thinking, promoting social cohesion. Those are important aspects. Now, let me also just indicate that these archives need to be managed very well, because they have a serious bearing, as I said, in the subject and also in the direction of the government, whatever government, wherever, in whatever continent. In analyzing the state of archives as a discipline, Elizabeth Yale, in History of Archives wrote and stated, "No archive is innocent." That is because archives are a product of decisions made by a range of stakeholders, from those who wrote the papers, who wrote the text that we are collecting, to the archivists who process and care for them, to the bureaucrats and officials who have determined which records were saved and which were destroyed, to the scholars, the historians who excavated them over years. A wide range of stakeholders. The one who produced the author, the one looking after them, the archivists, mostly ourselves, I think here, the archivists, the bureaucrats, the officials who decide, this one, and the researcher who comes every year and work on those. Randall C. Jimerson, a professor of history and director of the graduate study program in archives and course management in the Western Washington University, USA, in the paper called Archives for All, the importance of archives in society, referred to the illusion of neutrality. That archives are key, as I said, to history. They anchor. But there is caution here that we should not think all archives are innocent, as he said, and this one says the illusion of neutrality, that they are neutral. That implies, that is why I had aspect of the government in terms of the topic. He concluded, however much the archivists may protest their impartiality and neutrality, activists, by implication, all other stakeholders that I referred to, cannot avoid leaving some own imprint on those powerful resources of knowledge and identity. Something to be cautious about. The expression, no archive is innocent, and the illusion of neutrality implies that archives can be selected and preserved to portray history in a particular manner. The Mapungubwe is an example in terms of the earliest or the earlier archaeological excavations, that there were information that was thrown away because it was proving something else other than what was to be actually discovered as actually happened. History content sometimes was informed by such, and that is why there is a need for the decolonizing and the shift away from Report 550. And George Orwell, in his novel 1984, wrote, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." And I want to give an example, as I think winding down, to what happened when the Soviet Union, which is a topic in grade 12, was the Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991. The leader, called Mikhail Gorbachev, introduced policies the perestroika and the glasnost that were liberal, that were brought openness to a country of hardline communists where things were not liberal according to the information. Now that led to the disintegration of the country. The country was disintegrated into independent states. One of them, Ukraine. The Ukraine that is in the news today. The example I want to give here is when Ukraine achieved independence in 1991. Marina Palienko, in a journal article, wrote, the article titled, "The Role and the Importance of Archives in the Transformation of Modern Ukrainian Society," analyzed the role of archives played in the process of state and nation building in Ukraine. The disintegration of the USSR was due to policies, as I've said. The hardline communists did not agree to those policies. Now, the setup before the disintegration was this: hardline communist ruling, influencing through what has to be the right archives for the state. Now, disintegrate. A new independent state comes. And the independent state feels that no, now it is time for us to sort our archives, to align the archives to what has to be the right, because the position before was dominant and things must now be sorted. And that is what came to happen in Ukraine, where thousands of archival material were declassified and became available not only for scientific research but also for wider use. In this respect, particular attention was paid to the analysis of what came to be the law of Ukraine, which said, on access to the archives, they called them the archives of repressive bodies of the communist totalitarian regime. Shift of government and impact also in terms of what was used. Important aspect to look at in terms of inclusivity. In conclusion, this I don't know whether I'm spelling the name right, Huwa Khaberoni, an archival platform correspondence based in Johannesburg, in 2013, amongst others, posted the following as a recommendation. Going forward with archives. The archives, I quote, the archives should not be located far away from people. It should form an integral part of society and should not be disengaged from people. This would benefit, for me who is a history teacher, this would benefit history teachers and learners on how archives are a core component of such history because they will be easily accessible. We know that that does not mean we can have every archive, an archive everywhere, but we should think about that. Of course, bearing in mind that archive is not only what happens at a very high level like a university. The archive in a community, in a village, there is a history there, how it started. Why can't we pump up this and be able to empower even down to those communities, so that a learner from a rural village would not necessarily have to visit a very far distance place in order to get. The level of the information might differ, but every level, because archives start from individual contributions, community, family, community, local, village, country, all levels are involved. A visit to the archives should be coupled with visits to museums that students do, and the students should be given a chance to access an archival record and learn what archives are and how they work from day on. Truly speaking, from the department, as I can indicate, we know school trips where learners go to the museum. So let's build from there. When they go to the museum, when they go for this outing, now let's bring in, let's pump in this idea of the archives, so that would be something that would empower everybody. In her paper, Making History a Compulsory School Subject, you know that currently we have an issue where the minister, there was once an idea of introducing history as a compulsory subject, or just rewriting history. Now, Isabel Shelnak Kelly, a senior lecturer from the Department of Information Science, University of South Africa, said there is a need for institutions, referring to museums, archives, archival facilities, and libraries, to gain more prominence in the South African cultural landscape. There is, however, a greater need to encourage teachers to include such collections in their teaching and learning endeavors. Cultural institutions and institutions containing the memory of the country and of communities. It is therefore essential that such collections should not be relegated to dusty basements, areas, but should rather have more prominence as valuable resources for teaching and learning. For such institutions to remain relevant, museums, archives, libraries, for such institutions to remain relevant, it is crucial that they are showcased. They are showcased to these young kids, young learners, and that these collections are opened up for better access and transparency. Only by doing so will these institutions be regarded as assets to the country and encourage interest from future users of such institutions. These are the recommendations from people who are looking at it and saying, going forward, how should archives be in terms of accommodating everybody? The move towards making an Afrocentric history curriculum is pushing for a better integration of archival, museum, digital collections, such as from those from Freedom Park, the Lutuli Museum, into classroom practice. Program Director, I thank you.
I'm not sure if we are about to break, or are we going to call our presenters? Tea break. Okay. There's a committee to say that I must call the 4 learners to come and do the presentation. They are Pimelo, Mati, Mama Diego, Ayanda, and Sydney. So those are the learners that are going to make a presentation in here. And the last one, I think, is Mikey. Okay. You may come to the front or you are going to do a presentation there. Oh, okay, come to the front. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
Greetings to the adjudicators, timekeeper, esteemed guests, fellow learners, and the house at large. Before we continue with our presentation, I would like to introduce what HESOP and explain what it does to my fellow learners and other teachers who may not know what it is. So HESOP is an abbreviation for Heritage Education Schools Outreach Program. It is a program that includes grade 8 to grade 9 to grade 11 learners. It targets heritage, digitization of heritage, and using heritage as a strategic resource. It basically educates the youth how to preserve our heritage better for future generations and for our generations, because it's no lie that our heritage is disappearing bit by bit. There's only a little bit left of our heritage, and this program is a way for us to brainstorm and see if we can preserve our heritage in ways that are sustainable for future generations, like, for example, using AI.
Mr. Mukasgabe once said, and I quote, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture are like a tree without roots." Close quote. Greetings to the learners, respected educators, adjudicators, and all the members of the house present. Standing before you as a learner from a Lux Internabis, but known to all as PI School. I am Martin Mamao, standing in remembrance of Mutaka Walisasa Mandela, who fought for our freedom and our heritage. May his special soul continue to rest in legacy. I'm hereby with my teammates. Next to me is Ayanda Sedne, next to him is Michael Mogi, and lastly we have criminologist. My teammates will further explain their topics, but I would like to give a short overview of topic 1, heritage as a strategic resource. Heritage can be a strategic resource for more cohesive and sustainable regions in South Africa. Then the second topic, which is digitization of our heritage, it is about how AI will help preserve our heritage. Then the last topic, which is promotion of previously marginalized African languages, it is about the implementation of policies to ensure that all 12 official languages are developed and promoted equally. My teammates will further explain the topics.
Heritage can also refer to literature, art, music, and languages. Speaking of heritage, it reminds me of Chinua Achebe, human centered and everything. Sometimes when things are falling apart, they may actually fall into place. It was cool. Like Chinua Achebe said, our heritage in South Africa is falling apart. Maybe it may actually be falling into place. There are many ways that we can use heritage as a strategic resource. First, we can use heritage as a strategic resource for job creation, economic growth, conservation, and cultural production. Also, we can use heritage for sustainable development and participation opportunities for disabled people, which will benefit our economy and promote heritage. Most importantly, we can use heritage for educating our youth and creating awareness, and also stereotyping for femicide, GBV, that will improve self-esteem and understanding of rights. With that being said, I would personally advise the GNU, Government of National Unity, to collaborate with SABC for designing or creating series, radio channels, and cartoons that will also be beneficial for our country and for job creation, reducing unemployment. Those are the ways that we can use heritage as our strategic resource.
With a rich and diverse history, South Africa has been known as the Rainbow Nation because it is one of our 7 countries with most official languages. This is why people should master at least 3 languages. A wise man once said, music is a vernacular of the human soul. With that being said, we use the Google Translate to communicate. This is one of the best ways we use technology to promote our mother tongue. This advantages like not being able to communicate with other people. We've used an advanced technology to translate. This is one of the best ways to communicate with people.
Whenever I have to define heritage, I remember my grandmother's word. She always says, and I quote, "Heritage is our legacy from the past, what we live with now, and what we pass on to future generations," close quote. What follows after that definition is the question of how can we preserve our heritage for future generations? Well, here's a clue. We are in the 4th industrial revolution, and there has already been whispers of the 5th one. Artificial intelligence is becoming a part of our everyday life, and it has proven itself to be reliable to preserve our heritage. The picture on your left is an example of how we can use artificial intelligence to preserve our heritage. Majority of the people in the room assume that the implementation of AI will result to a great amount of unemployment, and I beg to differ. I personally believe that we can use artificial intelligence to include and employ disabled and unemployed youth. This method could help us with the socio-economic issues that we as a country are currently facing with. According to Stats SA, the percentage of unemployment is 32.9% and 29% is the youth. This tells us that by implementing AI to employ and create jobs, it can come in handy for our country. There are 2 forms of heritage that can be preserved. There is intangible heritage and physical heritage. Intangible heritage includes music, art, language, culture, folklore, and tradition. Physical heritage includes artifacts and historical sites. The picture, the woman on the picture is Katrina Esau. She is the last known fluently speaking Nju, which is a Khoisan language. With today's youth always glued to their phone, her granddaughter decided to upload a video of her grandmother educating people about the fading language and tradition of our forefathers. The video that will play after this picture is one of the videos that Oma Katrina Esau has on the internet, and it is of her educating a reporter on the difference between Afrikaans and Nju. The following video is a video of the Piri High School traditional dancers performing what the Natona people call tutu. With that being said, let us try to work together in order to preserve our heritage for future generations in a way that will be easily accessible and suitable for them.
As I echo the words of my teammates, conclusively I would like to say, yes, heritage can help us preserve our Yes, AI can help us preserve our heritage, and it can also create job opportunities for disabled people. I extend my gratitude.
our heritage. So that's very good, and that is very beautiful. We must know how are they going to preserve our heritage. Thank you very much. And without any waste of time, I will put this to the colleagues here for any questions in relation to the presentation that has been done by Mr. Manenge, by the students that were here in front of us, by the first presenter here, Mayor Nchushetabu. So, questions? Yes. I can see there's a hand there.
Good evening. I would like to ask a question. My name is Tsepan Sekhane. I'd like to ask a question. You guys said that the use of AI will help keep our heritage, like it will help it not disappear, something like that, right? So like I want to ask, like how would people do that, like individual people?
Oh, hi. In saying that we can use artificial intelligence to preserve our heritage, I'm not saying we should rewrite our history or rewrite our tradition. What I'm saying is we can use videos, we can use pictures, and we can also write articles, books, and everything using the internet. And the internet is part of artificial intelligence, which is something that was developed in this generation. Is that good?
Okay. Yes, Penny. Oh, the last question. Come again? It's okay. So are you happy with the answer that you got from your colleague? There's a lady there.
Good morning. May I please help my daughter?
Okay.
Yes. I think what she's trying to say, you know, with other things, it's difficult to recreate them. So as archivists, we use AI to put those things in motion. Say you have a picture that you can no longer see, you can upload that picture onto a certain AI tool to say, please recreate this moment. If you have a video of your grandmother telling a story, you can keep it longer or save it on using AI, or even add things. You can even add yourself to that. So does that answer your question, or how does AI now come into the picture? I know, Hansi, when we think of AI, we're thinking of ChatGPT, but there are various AI tools that can be used for different purposes. So what they were saying, there are things that we lose because we don't know how to keep them or where to keep them, like your childhood photographs. If now you're always taking pictures on your cell phone, if you lose your phone and you're not saving those pictures to the cloud, that information is all gone. But if, I'm sure you usually see people saying on Facebook, I'm saving them here. That's what you do with AI. Things that you don't know where to keep, or you want to enhance certain qualities, you use AI to close that gap. You'll talk to me offline, it's fine. I'm here the whole day. Is it fine?
One thing I'd like to add in is that when you talk about AI, how is a person going to generate like an income or get a job by just creating, like, they're just getting the are just asking AI to recreate our...
Yes, I know they spoke of jobs and stuff, but remember we are celebrating Archives Week. Ne? I teach public programming and advocacy. What I do is try to teach younger people to say that we need to preserve things that matter. Honor, most of you are lost. I'm sitting here, I'm born and bred in the Northwest, and I'm listening to all of you saying, we are talking about heritage and translating using this and that. But no one this morning has said Dumerang or anything like that. So we are saying that you need to go back to being a Motswana child and know who you are. So AI comes in to close that gap, to help us with the things that were previously difficult for us to do. It makes it easier. The job part of things, it's something we can talk about the whole day, but let's focus on celebrating Archives Week and preserving things that matter to us as Botswana children or people or anything like that. Because if you archives, they are about we need to take care of things that matter. Honor, most of us never had grandmothers tell us stories around the fire, which don't call oral history. But if you can have a video of that uploaded somewhere on TikTok, even a child who has never had that experience, it's going to be something meaningful to them. So the idea for this week is to say to us, how do we keep things that matter? How do we make sure that they're accessible? How do we make sure that the TikTok generation knows about these things? But we can still talk offline. Yes?
Sorry, good morning everyone. I just wanted to ask, not in any way to put you in a difficult position, just your opinion on that. Regarding using AI in the world of archives, in the world of history and questions like that, isn't the aging of stuff like photographs and videos part of the charm? Wouldn't using a generative AI, which alters the reality of what the picture or the video or the audio was, in essence take away from what is special about, let's say, a video of your grandmother or your father or stuff like that? Like in my own experience, if I were to use AI to recreate stuff that my father left for me, I feel like it would take away from that charm, because it's not his anymore. Now it's something the internet created from something like that.
If you're using any other tool, is it different from AI? If you're using any other tool, is it still your grandfather? If you're taking a video of your grandfather with your phone, obviously the lighting is going to make the grandfather look a bit different, and the only difference with my phone and me uploading something to an AI tool is that with AI I look prettier, but it's still me. So with every tool that you use, there's going to be some enhancements of some sort. Yes. Chair, please come to my list.
I think the argument is not necessarily about AI as a monster to us, but the presentation is centered around saying we can appreciate AI in assisting us preserve and also making awareness of our own heritage. To say, for example, they've used TikTok video where they were dancing to tuba. Dance. That is just to say it's a form of technology that can use to spread awareness quickly. And also it's a form that when it's on the internet, it's easily going to spread, and it can remain there for years and years. That it's part of preservation. Coming to job creation, the idea is you need people to inform the content of AI. AI is not born with content. You need to feed the content into it. So it's people who must sit and create content and feed the AI. So the argument is, let's have people who will feed AI so that it recognizes our heritage, our language, our tradition, so that we can go back to the issue of authenticity. Dr. Manenge was talking about authenticity when we are preserving our records, to say, for it to remain authentic, because once it becomes enhanced and all that, it's no longer the original. It has been tampered with. So I think the discussion was around that. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Any other questions?
Sorry. Can I say something? Am I noted? Okay, hello. I'm Memukhlodi from Budoka High School, and we are a technical school. So I just wanted to know if our learners were interested in becoming, you said archivists, right? So what should they do now? Because they don't have history. The last subject they did, that was history, it was social sciences in grade 9. Now from grade 10 up to grade 12, they don't have history. It's a technical school. So can they be able to study that? Or is there maybe a bridging course, something that they can do so that they can go to that route?
Yeah, respond, Doctor.
We have Professor Sarun here from the University of South Africa. I think part of her presentation will be talking about careers that one can follow into, and also the qualifications that they are offering. But a person who's doing social sciences, they qualify to do information science. The degree is called Bachelor of Information Science. And also we have another one called Archives. UNISA just introduced the new one that is strictly on archives and records management. She will talk more about it. Thank you.
Yes, madam.
I just want to put the young man at the back's mind at rest about his grandfather's photos. Kelly and I spent our lives dealing with old documents. I'm from special collections in the library. I wrote the De Beers Diamond Exploration Archives in the mid-1990s. I'm old. But before, when we digitized for archiving, we digitize items against the background, because the edge of the record is part of the historical record, and specifically not to lose anything. There is no changes. That item is saved and it's in an original format, unchanged. Any changes, whether it's enhancements, whether you've sharpened it or whatever you've done to it, whether you've used AI to enhance the image, all of those things are saved as adaptations or other versions of the original, but the original are sacrosanct. So we do keep the original.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there's a question from the floor. Oh, there is. The gentleman at the back. Yeah, the gentleman at the back. So, there is another one that I've put out. Yeah, I think there are two people that have to ask questions.
Thank you very much. Mine is to answer the lady here next to me. I'm an audiovisual archivist, so technical skills is very important in the field where I am. So Mike was answering about paper records, which is something else. Which I would do. But just now, in a serious note, as a technical person, you can do your ITs and all the sites that you are doing there, Kubernetes and so forth and so forth. You are welcome to also come to her university. Dr. Sarumbe, please raise up your hand. She's the one who teaches archival science in the country, but other universities are also teaching it. So there are various branches in archiving. And just to talk about the issue, as Madam here spoke about, the original is key. In terms of copyright laws, I'm a lawyer also. In terms of copyright laws, the original has a copyright already invested in it. So the further to the gentleman there at the back will still be the creator of that record. The new record which will create through artificial intelligence will be a new creation, adapted from the original.
Thank you. Asante.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Program Director. My name is Diniko Silvia from the Provincial Library Services, Provincial Libraries and Archive Services of Northwest. I just want to appreciate the presentation and the permanent. Quite intriguing and very informative, and I think that they advocate to my colleagues from which it also gives us some directives in the future planning at the archives week. The issue of awareness remains very important. You know, when he was presenting, basically I was saying, had to shut that in, because the way he's outlining the skills and whatever, goodness, it's out there. Maybe in a little dorm or school, maybe it's starting now. I don't know. If you guys, you're not getting this, I'm telling you, something is completely wrong. It's already setting out things that are like, I wouldn't even be bothered to want to think about the issue study archives. But what will disturb you most is that you find, I'm just giving a practical example of an institution that we have in Mafikeng, there's a Daleto ki FET, Daleto, they don't have a library. They don't have a library. And the issues start, when you read what we were saying about the issues of curriculum and the expectations that learners have to have access to resources. What resources are we talking about? Because we still find learners that in completing matric, they go to a tertiary. The concept of that you were talking about also becomes very necessary. And the emphasis here, awareness. So to our learners that are here, there's also that issue. I think you quoted one author, or he was writing an article or whatever, with the emphasis of reaching out to learners so that they are built from this stage. I think from my side, I didn't necessarily have a presentation was really intriguing, and it gives us some work to do after this, and to really make sure that at no point, because sometimes when you get learners to an activity, they become an easy target because it's easy to organize learners. It can look like that. But from what I've listened here, it's definitely necessary. It's not even negotiable. We have to have learners in our outreach programs. And the most, and not coming, sitting around desk and go. It's about listening and actually contextualizing this and know clearly, or this is about the futures building there. Thanks very much for the presentation.
Oh, okay, thank you. With that being said, I think we'll have a tea break of how many minutes? 20 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. 20 minutes. So 12 o'clock will be back. Sipiwe from Northwest University and Archives. Before he can ascend the stage, I'm just going to read to you a profile of who is Mr. Sipiwe. Mr. Sipiwe Sisondwe is a photo and audiovisual archivist and photo librarian at Northwest University. This forward-thinking information professional specializes in managing digital and physical library and archival collection, visual heritage curation, and research support. With experience in leveraging fourth industrial revolution technologies such as AI, virtual reality, and cloud storage, they enhance archival management and improve access for academic communities. This experience includes leading digital transformation initiatives, collaborating with external stakeholders to increase archival visibility and engagement, and applying advanced skills in metadata management, preservation, and generative AI tools to support innovative research workforce. Can we welcome Mr. Sipiwe on stage?
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I'm going to sit so that I can be next to
Sorry, we are live streaming, so people won't be able to see you. I'm not sure if you can go in front.
What do you need? Do you need a person to control them?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Joe, for such a nice introduction. Like I said, my name is Sipiwe Sisondwe. I'm a photo and digital archivist here at Northwest University. I'm a photo and digital archivist here at the Northwest University, so mine is not a lot to do. It's just to show you or tell you what is it that we do here at the Northwest University in relation to this year's theme, which is Archives for Justice. So, colleagues, I will start by asking you a question. Has any one of you here ever found themselves having to prove something? Maybe having to prove your qualification or your nationality. So can you imagine when you are in a position whereby you have to prove something, maybe in a court, and then for you to prove that you need a record, but you do not have that record, either because it was not collected and transferred to archives, or it was not the metadata was not created properly for you to be able to find it. So there will be a very sad part, because now justice won't be served to you because you have lost the right to prove yourself, which relies on that record that needed to be present. So at the Northwest University, we are the department called Records, Archives, and Museums. So what we do, we manage records, we do records management by training our staff members, colleagues, and the students on how to manage records properly and what are the necessary steps to create. We teach them what makes an official record and what are the necessary steps that they need to follow to make sure that those records are collected and they are transferred to archives. We also have the archives whereby we keep the institutional memory. We make sure that the history of our institution is well preserved. It is also accessible. And then we have the museum whereby we have historical objects, memorabilia, which is related to the university, but we are together, the museum together with archives, we do welcome donations that fits in within our school. Mr. Mandenza said earlier that records or archives start by you. So if you have something and it is not properly stored, we urge you to bring it forward to the archives or the museum. We also, the national archives is also there, the provincial archives is also there. So what we keep for now is records that are related to Northwest University. So our archives has made an impact through the court cases, qualification, verification, like I said earlier. There were times whereby someone, imagine if someone accused you that your qualification is not legit. Where would you go to? Where would you go to for you to prove that your qualification is legit? So obviously you will need to go to the institution that you went to. So we have student records dating back from when the university started on the early 80s. Our university started in a small town in Eastern Cape called Bakerston in 1886. In the late 1800s, let me just put it like that. So, I thought I was going to share the photographs, but I wanted to keep my presentation short so that we can save time. So there were times whereby students find themselves having to provide, or not even students, people when they are applying for their immigration documents somewhere, but they need to produce the certain records for particular reasons to say, I was once here, you know, and then they will come and request those records from us to say, yes, we have a record. This is the qualification that you did. So you can imagine if those records were not properly preserved. So qualification, verification, like I said, when someone has to get a promotion maybe at work, and then their qualifications, you know, sometimes people they lose their qualifications. You might find out you find yourself one day losing your matric certificate. And what are you going to do if the Department of Education is not keeping your records properly? So those are some of the things we do. And another thing is the published scholarship, which is built on our primary sources. As you all know, archives are the primary sources, unedited information. So there are books that have been published. You will see them on the next slide. Can you please go to the next slide? So these are the books that have been published using the photo archives. We have a huge collection of photo archives that tells our history and where the university is coming from. We also have minutes of the meetings and administrative records that also have been consulted during when they were writing these books, because somewhere, somehow, someone needs to understand when and why, and who made a particular decision. So our records that we keep, the minutes and the administrative records, they serve their purpose. So as you can see, there is the book called, it's in Afrikaans, Wanderblad, by P.F. van der Skeel, and as well as the India Lich. If you are interested to learn about the Northwest University history, these are the books that you can go through. They are available in the library, in our library special collections. We have a lady here who will be able to assist you with that. as well as the other one, the last one, celebrating the past and looking forward, looking towards the future is. So, in this job that we are doing, there are systems that we use as we move with technology. Earlier we did speak about AI. AI is also embedded in some of these technologies that I'm going to talk about here. So we have a system called paperless. If you can think of the career of your career and how would you want to be a digital archivist in future, you need to know that there is system. These are kind of the systems that you will be working with. We have paperless. Paperless is a system that helps us to organize, because we have to organize our reports so that they can be accessible. Like I said earlier, preservation is just half of the job that we are doing. So another half is making sure that whatever that we keep is accessible. And that's the justice that we archives serve. So we have paperless, which is used for our text-based records, because there's a feature called optical character recognition, OCR. It helps you to, it recognizes the text. That text can be moved into, it can be used during metadata creation. Can someone tell me what is metadata here? The young ones? Yes, ma'am? Oh, I thought your hand was up. I don't want to reference.
Metadata is basically cataloging. It's a descriptive process that goes for various different fields. Do describe an item to make sure that you can actually retrieve it again. Because an item that hasn't been described is missing. It becomes missing in place. And yeah, there you go.
Yes. Another an example of metadata is what you just saw now from the 3 books that I showed you on the previous slide. The title of the book, the author, the date which it was created, that is metadata. It's the information about the source. So in terms of archives, it's the information related to the archival record that we have. Even if it's a picture, you should know when you see a picture, who is this picture, what was happening, when was it taken. Now that is metadata. So as I was talking about paperless, we already have paperless which we use to describe and organize all our records to make sure that they are easily accessible. They are organized, and then we organize them so that they can be easily accessible. And then we also subscribe to the Amazon Web Services called Storage Glacier, which is a cloud storage that we use to deep archive our records. We are using it as in case of a disaster. Let's say something happens, paperless is no longer accessible. So we have to make sure that these records are still accessible. We can go to AWS and pull them out from there. We also have a virtual tour to our museum and our archival spaces, whereby anyone anywhere can visit our museum virtually. I will show you guys the QR code if you are interested to visit the museum. Then you can go there. So it is powered by Metaport. We took this virtual tour snapshots. They were taken last year before our spaces were renovated. So now our archives and museum has been newly renovated. We are still in the process of finalizing the setups. So you will see how nice it looks like now. And also we are implementing the implementation of access to memory, and Archivematic has been approved, and yeah, it's in the process. Access to memory is also called ATOM in short. We are using it for describing, which is metadata creation, like I said earlier. So we use it to describe these records. And we are also trying to promote access, because access is actually a right, not just a privilege. So if it can only be accessed by us, then we wouldn't be doing justice to the people that we serve, to make sure that access to the records is flawless. So we have access to memory that we are implementing for metadata creation, describing the records so that they can easily be accessible. So which means now a researcher from Pretoria or from Johannesburg or wherever you are, as long as you have internet connection, you will be able to have access to our records. Just by searching Northwest University Archives, it will take you you will see access to memory, and then you will see our digitalized records. We also do digitization so that whatever that we upload there, it has to be digital. So we are digitizing our collections. So we also have Archivematic for digital preservation, because once we digitize, we have to make sure that all the records that have been digitized and put on the system, they can stay there without any technical damage, without any loss. So the system is going to help us with that. So these two systems will be working hand in hand to make sure that the records are accessible for as long as possible. So yeah, that's what we are trying to do. We can go to the next slide. So again, your records are your responsibility as well. Meaning that we are, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with the records management processes, except our colleagues from the schools. So this is what I mean to say here is that any record that you create, it has to be accessible in future. So we always, as I spoke about records management earlier, we always encourage colleagues to make sure that when they create records, they don't just keep them there in their offices. And they don't bring them to archives only because they are running out of space in their offices. Now they remember that, oh, okay, I have this box of photographs that needs to be taken to archives. So guys, archives are not just storages where you can just throw in the records. So records must be submitted on time so that they can be processed and be accessible once they are declared as archival records. So in short, this is me showing the role that we do in order to make sure that these records are not lost. Because a historical record, the reason we have access to a record that was created in the late 1800s, it is because someone decided that this record is worth keeping. And then they followed proper procedures to make sure that these records can be searchable and can be found. So also in future, if you will be in the offices, you will be people who are creating records. So you have to make sure that these records are submitted to the right people so that they can be accessible. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. The QR code on the left, it will take you to our website, and the one on the right, it will take you to our virtual tour. You can just have a look or try and select a case. And that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Spiwe, for the presentation. I think our learners have got the information that we'll be presenting, and they will be well off when they go out here. Without any waste of time, I'm going to call Prof. Sarumba from UNISA, University of South Africa. Before she accepts the stage, I'm going to read a profile to all of you here. Prof. Sarumba is a professor of information science at the University of South Africa. At the University of South Africa, this is an RF-related researcher hold a PhD in information science and brings over 15 years of experience in teaching, research, academic leadership, curriculum development, and quality assurance. With more than 30 peer-reviewed publications and supervisor of 15 masters and PhD students, their work focuses on archival public programs, information literacy, record management, information for development, and community engagement across East and Southern Africa. She leads the Decolonizing Archives Engage scholarship project. Just a minute. Yeah. She leads the Decolonizing Archives Engaged scholarship project, which reimagines archival practices through a decolonized lens, and serves internationally as chair of the expert group for research services and outreach at the International Council on Archives, and as a member of the ARFA, International Educational Foundation. She is passionate about information as a fundamental right. She is committed to empowering communities, advancing African leadership, and amplifying African perspectives in global academic discourse. We may welcome the Prof. Good afternoon. Sounds sluggish. We had breakfast and everything. How are you today? We're doing great. Huh? It's amazing to be here. I want to greet everyone, all protocols observed. I want to give a special thanks to Masempe, one of my mentors and boss from about more than 10 years ago. I started from her hands, and here I am today. So let's just clap for her. Thank you very much. I just wanted to show the young people that we go through life, you meet people, they shape you, they help you, and you grow. And by doing your best out there, they also shine. Because it's a black one, eh? Like those people were talking here. You know, one day was a black one, I saw her there, or him there. And look at the amazing things he's doing today. So today I'm going to talk about something called Archives for Justice. I want to give thanks to all those who spoke before me, starting with the guest speaker. Thank you very much. You gave a very good foundation on history and archives and why are they important. And the other presentations from the school learners, kudos. I think you could even come and do first year. Eh? You're doing amazing work. And then we saw the examples from what was just showing us about what archives are and why they are important. So in my case, is just to say, when you see archivists and information scientists, they do a lot of work. You heard about the technicalities. We're hearing about audiovisual archives. We heard about AI, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's an exciting profession. But sometimes we do all of this work and we forget to share
all this news with other people. And then why did we all do all that work for? It's a waste, isn't it? It becomes so, it's important as much as they put all this hard work in preserving and keeping this information. It is very important that we raise awareness and let others know about what we have and how it can make a difference. You heard the presentation just before me, how you could prove things, your education certificate, legal issues, but many people don't know about this. So everybody here, you know, now that you know, what are you going to do? You know, kids, when you go home, at the dinner table today, you must give a summary, A, B, C, this is what happened, this is what I learned. And to know that your story matters. Everybody's story matters. Can I go to the next slide? Thank you. So I want to start off with a story. I can't read with the glasses here. So, I have a short story here which says, what if one document changed everything? I'm starting with scenario 1. In Limpopo, 1968, the Baloyi family farmed near Tzaneen for generations. Officials arrived and declared the land state property, and they were told to move. They were relocated somewhere, they were complaining, saying this is not right, but nobody heard them. And we hear that they were moved 80 kilometers away from where they were living with nothing. They left everything on that plot. But now, before he passes away, their grandfather tells one of his grandchildren, one of his granddaughter called Komoto, and says, we had papers about this land that we own. He kept telling them stories. This land is ours, you know, and we have papers for them. And before he died, he said, find the papers. And he just ended there. Find them. Where should he go? Anybody wants to raise their hand and tell us, where should he go to find the papers? Yeah? Just raise and just tell me, where do you think she should go to find these papers? Under the bed? Ah, remember they moved and they left everything. They had nothing. Yeah? Yes. The couch. Okay, here we go. Let's go to scenario 2. We're moving. This is 1968. We're moving to 2014. Komoto visits the National Archives in Pretoria and invokes the Paya Act to request record of land removals. And archivist Lerato retrieves a faded survey register, a book listing the Baloyi homestead, names, boundaries, occupants, all recorded, all there. So the land was never unoccupied because those people who came to grab it said, this was never yours. It never belonged to you. But it was not true. So the record now comes into light and it shows that indeed it belonged to them. Let's go to the next scenario. Justice is served. They go to court last year. The register is submitted as evidence. The other side goes quiet. The Baloyi family is awarded restitution of their land 56 years later. A whole lifetime. And Komoto plants a tree on the farm her grandfather never stopped calling home. One record preserved, accessible, it made justice possible. Okay, I just want to tell you that this is a fictional story. But stories like this are real stories in South Africa. It happens, and justice begins with recording. This is what I'm saying, all these activists, and even us, we can do it with the phones and all that we have today. It starts with recording and also remembering and granting access. And that is Archives for Justice. Because all these archivists must know, they must always tell you, we keep these records for use. We don't keep them just for the sake of keeping. They must be used somehow, even though there are regulations and there are criteria of how you do that, but ultimately archives are kept for use. And one of those uses is for justice. Can you move to the next slide? So archives and justice. Archives are very important for justice because they serve as evidence. They also, we heard about the examples that we have heard today, documents on decisions, actions, and violations, even if you refer to the little story that I just told you. And then memory, we want to remember. So that can be done through oral histories, through storytelling, photographs, lived experiences, and they also help us with our identity. By learning from our past, we know where we come from and why we are the way we are today. Why do you have that name? Do you know that? Did your mom and your father tell you why they named you your name? Yeah? We speak about clan names and all that. So it talks to identity. And then lastly, justice is the foundation of accountability. How many commissions do we have going on right now? Many, but they all are based on evidence. And sometimes the evidence goes missing. And justice, does it happen? It doesn't. So archives are very, very important. I wanted to say next slide, I wanted to press this next slide. Yeah. So when archives failed justice, I did some research in 12 countries in East and Southern Africa. And I found out that 69% of these national public archives, they did not have a plan of how they do outreach or how they raise awareness about archives in their countries. I'm not going to mention those who did or who did not. But I want to say South Africa is doing great. Let's give them a round of applause. We do have a progressive legislation and things are happening. We are even here today. It's a testimony to that. We are working. So the problem is they feel like they have to be a fortress where they just protect the records and they forget to tell other people about what is available and how it can help them in school, at work, and many, many other reasons. And then we spoke about justice. Sometimes people don't get justice because they don't have access to that information that is being kept there. And that has to change. We need to tell more people about what the archives do and how they can benefit. And then we're talking about AI and the digital revolution and all that. How many of you have smartphones? We all have smartphones, eh? How many of you have data? Eh? I have daughters too. They never have data, never. So you might have this, but there's still a gap. We might say that the archives is on, you can access information online, but if you don't have data, can you get to that information? So there's still a problem there that we need to work on, especially in South Africa. This economy, it's tough. I'll leave it there. And then there's the issue of our history in Africa, in South Africa, where governments deliberately said, the history of, my name is Nams, they call me Prof. Nams. The history of Prof. Nams is not important. We are not going to keep it in the archives. The history of Professor X is more important, and these are the stories that we want to be known and to be shared for generations. So you see, there's some people who were deliberately excluded. And I think you heard from the guest speaker, that has to change. We have to be inclusive because everybody is important and your story matters. Next slide. So there's one researcher, his name is Terry Cook, and he was talking about the work of archivists over the years, and you can see he was looking into history, because history is really exciting, and he says way back in 1798, in the European governments, archives were used as evidence in these very important offices. And then moving along, because I have to be very quick, history goes on, and then have you heard about the First World War, and the Second World War, and Anglo-Boer War? Have you heard about those, eh? You haven't. Oh, history, yay, history has to be compulsory. But there's a lot of wars that happen and different things that happen, and suddenly there was a lot of information and we couldn't keep everything. So archivists know how to go through that information and to keep what is important and to keep out what is not important, all right? So archivists then were seen as more as selectors. And then we come into the 1980s coming now. We had all this information, but people don't know about it. So archivists were encouraged to share, raise awareness about what is in their collections. But what is exciting now, sadly, Terry Cook is late, but he said, I can see in the horizon where school kids like you will have smartphones and you'll be creating content and sharing, yeah? So now communities are collecting their own records and they don't know how to keep them for future generations and all that. So now archivists have to step in and become facilitators to help communities know how to keep information because that information could be important. What kind of information do you have at home? Your birth certificate, do you know where it is? Or your mommies are keeping it for you? You're not sure. ID documents for those who have, and so forth and so forth. There's a lot of information. Family gatherings, you always take photos to remember. What do you do to that information after the family? In 2029, you delete. Yeah? So we have to know how to do that. So archivists can train communities to do that. Can we move on quickly? So public programming is a way of archivists going out into the communities to raise awareness about what is available and to educate you how to use archival records. We learned about the types of archival records. It's not just books. There's a lot that is there. And how can they do that? We can do that by doing school visits, or today we are here. We can do exhibitions and tours. We can use social media, and we can have events just like this one, where we learn more about archives and get you to get interested in them. We hope that this is not going to be the end. We want to know you coming back so that you can use these archives. Next slide. So this thing called participatory stewardship is all about working with communities, because for a long time, archivists were saying, we're doing this for the community, we're doing this for the community, and not involving them. And that is not right. We have to change. So it shouldn't be from archives about us. Communities today want archives with us, where you can join community in creating records, and you can decide how do you want to be remembered. Remember the TikTok that was shown to us? Yeah? That is how that granddaughter wanted to be, her grandmother to be remembered, and that is important. So archivists have to work with communities to change that. And that's something we call participatory stewardship. Next slide. Another thing is all these activities that we have and the work that the archivists do, it costs what? Money. Who gives us money? Yeah? Okay, people are saying parents. But for those who work in government, where does the money come from? From government, but government doesn't always understand the work of the archives, and they need to be educated. So there's this definition, it says, advocacy is an investment that we intentionally and strategically educate and engage individuals and organizations so that they will in turn support our work. We need to tell them what we do. We need to tell them why it is important. We need to say how they get a return on the money they invest in us so that they can give us more money. Okay? And we have more of these activities. That is really, really important. Or else, next year we will not have a National Archives Week. So it's important that we engage with them all the time. And we need to collaborate. We can't do it alone. Like today, we're at Northwest University. Kudos to them for them inviting us. It's great. But this is something we call collaboration. When we work together, things happen. Next slide. So who do we talk to about the archives? We need to talk to the government officials. We need to talk to civic organizations, schools. I think that's why you were invited here today. It's very important. School learners, people in business, and the media as well. They can all help us in this mission that we have with the archives. Moving to the next slide. So I just wanted to show you an example of the few things that we do at our university to take archives to the people. And this project is something that we do with the archivists from provincial and national archives, where we train them how they can do advocacy as well as public programming, or you can call it marketing. We want to develop a coffee table book on public programming in the country, but we've only received submissions from the Western Cape, Gauteng, and Northwest. We want to receive more stories from other people in the country. I hope they're listening to me and somebody will send something. Moving on to the next one. Another very interesting project that we are doing is reclaiming erased sports histories. You know, because of the history in the country, there are some sport heroes and sports heroes whose stories are not known. So we have collaborated with the Gauteng Provincial Archives, and we got those stories. We got 70 stories, and we've published 3 books. I got one book here today on netball, boxing heroes, tennis heroes. All of them were they they were just left, they never really got recognized properly. And the picture there on the bottom is at one of the ceremonies where we were recognizing this 86-year-old athlete, a woman who's still running to today. She only rests on Sunday when she goes to church. Yes, but she has achieved a lot. So we want those stories to be known. And we also work with kids like you. And last year in September, we had a program called Generation Alpha in the Archives, where we taught them indigenous games. Can we go to the next slide quickly? Those are the games that we were playing that day. You can see the Gogos came out and they taught them. Do you know these games? Yes. You do, eh? Yeah, some people don't. They're just spending time on the phones, TikTok and PlayStation. These are really good games. So we spend time because it's important for you to know and not forget these important things in life. Moving to the next slide. So what can you do this week? Because it's Archives Week. Document your stories. Like we saw that, we gave the example of that TikTok video. You know, you can do that too, eh? It's not something special. Anybody can do that. So document something this week to make a difference. Because as I said, your story matters. Visit your local archive. She said today is free this whole week. Go and find out what is there. And if some stories are not there, ask, why are they missing? This is 2026. Why are they still missing? Maybe they'll do something about it. And then we need to share stories. Those who are on social media, I don't know what what's our handle? Do you have a hashtag? Yeah? Yeah, so we need to use that on X, on Facebook, wherever we can. Let's raise awareness about this. And then we must talk to our local government authorities to see what are they doing to preserve our community stories. And as I said, partnerships really, really matter. We cannot do this alone as archivists. So we work with schools, communities, churches, libraries, and the list goes on and on and on. Moving to the next slide. So Archives for Justice is a collective obligation. It's all our responsibilities. Everybody can do something. Because archives are not just about the past, they are the evidence of which justice depends today and tomorrow. So it's a mandate. We have to keep our archives and make sure that every community member becomes a guardian of the record, and we must also know that when we need help, we know where to go to find that information. And let us work together with our public archival institutions to build the evidentiary foundation for a just and equitable society. So I'm going to just stop here for a few minutes because you said you wanted to know if you want to become an archivist, what is it that you can do? So there are options. So I'm going to ask my colleague, she's going to do just about 3 slides to tell you what is it that you can do through UNISA so that you one day can be an archivist too and make a difference in your own community. So I will hand over to Vanessa. Can you just come down quickly because our time is running out. Yeah. And we would love to see you coming to join our programs. Thank you.
No, it's fine. I'll just be good. I don't want to stand between people and lunch, so. Dumela. Lucian. Good day, everyone. Goeiedag. You can tell that I'm from Northwest, ne? I speak all the right languages that we speak in the Northwest. Ne? Thank you. My name is Dr. Vanessa Naumatupe. I'm from the Department of Information Science at UNISA. Today I was just supposed to be Profs +1, but somebody asked if there's a bridging course that you can do after matric if you didn't know what you wanted to do. So the first thing that you can do is the department offers a higher certificate in archives and records management. It's on NQF level 5. Once you have completed that, it gives you access to all the other degrees in the department. We have a new one, it's called Bachelor of Archives and Records Management. That one only focuses on archives and records management. Or you can do a Bachelor of Information Science. That one you do if you are not sure what is it that you want to specialize in. Once you've done a Bachelor of Information Science and you want to continue with your studies, you can become an archivist, you can become a museum curator, you can become, what are the other things? You can be Maite. or you can be me. Ne? Then, if you still feel the need to pursue higher education once you've done the bachelor's, either archives or information science, you can do an honors degree in either one of those. And then once you've done your honors degree, you do a master's degree where you are going to specialize in whatever it is that is very close to your heart. When you are doing your Bachelor of Information Science, you might have been unsure of what is it that you want to do. And then once you get to the master's level, you're like, oh, okay, I actually want to specialize in government records or what. Then you start writing about it. That's how you specialize in something. You write articles in it, you do your master's dissertation in it, and stuff like that. And then it doesn't end there. If you want now to become a doctor somebody, you do a Doctor of Philosophy in Information Science. There you can write about anything. I'm a records management person, but my PhD study was on artificial intelligence. That's why I jumped in earlier when you were under fire, because it's a topic that is very close to my heart. So once you're at a PhD level, you can research about anything and link it back to the profession. So now we have a new Bachelor of Information Science degree. It's different from those two that I told you about because it's a 4-year course, not a 3-year course. Once you have completed it, you go straight into the master's program. You don't have to do an honors degree. So that one is interesting because it speaks to the things of the 5th Industrial Revolution. Can you feel me, girl? I got this from you. It speaks to digitization, it speaks to AI, it speaks to all those nice things that we are hearing about now. So you will not be a boring activist like me. Once you do this one, you will be that one. You see, that activist that works with the intelligent robots and the collaborative robots. So these are the qualifications that are offered in the Department of Information Science. Ma'am, I hope I have answered your question that was asked here for you. What is it that you need to do to become an archivist or work in the field of archives and records management? Remember, it's called information science, so you can become just about anything. You can be a knowledge manager, you can be in the museum, you can be an author and write books. Yeah? You can do so much. As anywhere where there's information, you can work there. I will stop here because I was not ready to present. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Sambe and Dr. Matope for the presentation. I think our kids have learned a lot, and the ball is in their course today to say what is it that they want to study when they pass their grade 12. So guys, today you got the best information. So it's for you now to decide where to go. Without any waste of time, I'm going to call, I think that there's a presentation by the Northwest University Library. According to my Northwest presentation, yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. If you wanted to become an archivist, or I sometimes refer to myself as the ghost librarian, because I look after all the old stuff. I've got the best job on the entire campus. And keep in mind, guys, that universities are just a bunch of buildings that sprung up around the library. And libraries is the central nervous system of any university. It doesn't exist. Nobody does a shred of work or a shred of research on this campus without coming through the library. We've got 120 million rand budget every year to make sure people get to do what they want to do. But today I want to talk about libraries, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums in a bit of a different way. I am absolutely fascinated by quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement basically means that if you decide to have a chocolate for dessert instead of strawberries for dessert, it has an impact on the entire universe. Everything is connected. And in the library and the archiving and the preservation and conservation world, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums are connected. We cannot live without them, we cannot separate them, and there's a global move, we can move to the next slide, to actually to sort of group these things together, to take them and put them together in one structure called GLANs. I mean, we are rather glamorous, don't you think we are? We certainly are. So we're forming GLANs, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, because it's an international trend. It's an international trend because a lot of people across a lot of continents have sort of sat and looked at this thing and struggled with this thing for ages in the past, and since 1862 in this little university, and sort of said, you know what, actually these things belong together. So international trends is to form GLANs for galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. Now, Kerry and I are actually, we're Siamese twins, we connected at the hip. We sit in different departments at the moment, but we kind of, we work together as though we don't. As I said, these departments are interconnected. Now, Kerry does probably 80% of her work is about historical preservation. And historical preservation, guys, is about identity. It's about nothing else. I want the good, I want the bad, and I want the ugly. And not so long ago, I got a donation, and it included a little cup with a swastika on it. And people was up in arms, and I needed to throw it out. It's history, don't be crazy. We don't want to throw out history. We don't want to burn down Rhodes' statue in Cape Town. We want to leave the past dirty and tell people what he did, okay? Because he wasn't a particularly nice man. Any case, but that left there. And the connection between libraries, archives, and museums are basically that we share needs. We all need gas-fire retardation systems. We all need climate control systems. We all need records management, not records management, we need cataloging systems to actually describe the items in our collections. Otherwise we don't. If you don't describe an item, you don't have it. It disappears. It becomes invisible, and you might as well not have it. Okay, so those are the shared needs. We can move on. I want to look at the current landscape within South Africa. In 2024, the chief librarian in the library, Dr. Moya, asked me to do some benchmarking, to go and look. Benchmarking is just a fancy word for doing a comparison, to see what the important people out in the industry are doing. At the University of Northwest, here where we are, we still have Nakedi as our chief archivist. I'm the head of special collections. We work together as though we're not in separate departments, but we are in separate departments. At the University of Pretoria, they've actually formed the first GLAN in South Africa. So they've put everything together. UJ formed the GLAN, but they haven't even started calling it GLAN yet, because at UJ, the archives and the museums and all of those things report to one specific guy. And at UCT, they have the largest department by all, and all of them are in one department. So those are the benchmarking. So yes, we are moving towards an international trend, yeah. And this is something that I really want us to think about. A lot of people talk about donations and things. Donations in my life, I don't go looking for them, they come looking for me. And I have people knocking on my door and phoning me and sending me emails and saying, I've got this collection, can you take it off my hands? And you know what, that starts happening when you're really old as me. You sort of develop a reputation out in the world out there. You really do. And people start thinking, you know what, that Audrey person, you need to go talk to Audrey. So my donations is one of the benefits of being old. My donations come to me. I don't even have time to go and look for more. And that is wonderful. But what I want to talk about quickly is the role of university libraries or higher education libraries within South Africa. Because in a large extent, because of certain infrastructure failing in the country in general, higher education institutions, and that is a map that shows you where all the universities in South Africa sit. And those higher education institutions has become de facto preservation centers. Each of those, and that is the picture. I want you to look at that picture, and the beauty of that is we already sit in communities. We're already out there, we're already scattered throughout the country, and people very often, I've been trying to negotiate to get a Sharpeville collection, and these people don't want a part of it because they don't want it to move out of their community. And that is the power of the whole thing. In your community, you can become the change factor in this specific environment. And that is very, very important. And the important thing also about universities is we have the human capital. We've got some really, really smart people. And we've got people like Simpiwe and Nakedi and Dr. Ins here. I'm sorry, thanks. And Jacqueline. I mean, we all sit and we all have different areas of expertise. Jacqueline works with records management. What's the difference between archives and records management? Records management are documents that are mandated to be thrown away. When I was at Pricewaterhouse in my distant youth, all the audit clerks used to go and visit our clients on a 7-year basis, and they'd shred everything because there's a law in South Africa that says certain records needs to be shared. Okay, now keep that in mind. But human capital, we need smart people that realize we want to keep our history, and why do we want to keep our history? Preservation perspective, I've already touched on that, but the other big thing is you and me, we all have a responsibility to maintain our history. You have a responsibility to write your own autobiography, if nothing else. National Preservation Network, that's what I want to see come off the ground. And we have the National Archives, we have the higher education institution that becomes de facto preservation centers within their communities. I want all of these people to work together because collaboration makes us all stronger. And I don't want to take your brand value of your individual collections. I just want to add to it. I'm a typical capitalist. I don't want to decolonize anything because I'm greedy. I want it all. If the Chinese has got a hot air balloon, I want it. If the bloody Americans has got an aeroplane, I want that one too. I want to collect it all because I'm greedy. And I think that's good because I like to use the hot air balloon sometimes, and the plane's faster for some other things. Okay, how do we ensure unnecessary duplication? In archives, one copy is too little. And you need at least 3 copies in different locations. So that if something ungodly happens in Lichtenburg and the museum burns down, 2 other facilities still have copies. One thing that I want to tell you that you need to all remember, because you are going to be the leaders of the future, is that you cannot archive digitally. It is impossible to do that. I wrote the digital archives with De Beers' diamond exploration in the 1990s. And 2 weeks after we started scanning, we realized something. A JPEG image, you know, all those fun things that you take on your cell phone, a JPEG image dies quicker than a piece of paper that I dragged behind a tractor cutting the lawn outside the library. You can open and close a JPEG image 15 times before there is scientifically provable damage to that image. The first thing that goes is the color, then it starts looking blurry, and eventually it disappears altogether. And I'm not going to go in there. We want to optimize our space. So we don't want every library in South Africa to keep a copy of everything, but we need at least 3 physical copies because the physical paper is still our base archive copy. And so we want to optimize space. We want to have an international digital footprint because I want people in the Netherlands and in Russia and in Canada and in Greenland all to have access to the amazing stuff that we do at the southern end of Africa. So to archive digitally, you need a system that is hardware independent and software independent. Okay, keep that in mind, because I can't promise that the Adobe Acrobat is still going to be around in 5 years' time. Okay, and this was just an example of an organigram that we put together when Nakedi and I sort of looked at things within the library, and basically what we pulled together here was a plan. It's the archives, the heritage buildings, the museums, the special collections, conservation, and digital archiving hubs. Okay, you can carry on. And that leaves you there. Apart from asking for food, which is where my daughter would be, is feed me. And somebody once complained about that, and she said to them, I'll eat the driver. I was the driver. So everybody stopped and fed them. Okay, but yeah, catch me at lunch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation. I don't want to interfere in people's lunch because I can see it's past 1. Anyway, is there any questions before we go to the closing remarks? Any questions?
Thank you so much, Program Director. Mine is not a question, it's just a comment. It's just a message actually to the learners who are majority of the audience here, so that I think they've seen that the importance of archives, what the archives do. So I just hope that there'll be our ambassadors there to, be the word of mouth and tell their friends about what they've witnessed here. It's just to say that especially the presentation from Mr. Situale. So you've seen that the archives are used can be used for different purposes, such as research. If it wasn't because of the archives, those books would not have been published. So that is one aspect of ensuring that we preserve these documents that we have in our archives. And I think even the fake story, I think that's also important as well, because sometimes we just need to simplify it to the audience who may not be very, So I think it's just to say that archives can be used for different purposes. They can solve disputes and solve people's problems. So I think those are some of the key issues that we try to communicate, like as the National Archives, because that's the whole essence of promoting and popularizing the archives. So that is just my comment. Thanks.
Could we look at the back, and then from the doctor, then
I wanted to ask if archiving is free. Like if I have my birth certificate and then I go to a place and I want to archive it, would they charge me, or is there a fee or something?
You know what, birth certificates, I understand the gist of what you're asking. Archiving with us is usually the collection would become our property, but we don't charge you for that. But obviously you will have access to the material after we've digitized it, etc. and so forth. But it becomes the property of the university. What is incredibly important to remember is that there are very specific conditions to be able to archive things. and you need to keep a material under 17 degrees. Anything over 1 degree, over 21 degrees, shortens the life of a document by 10 years. We need climate control, and you need to control the humidity, you need to control air, the air humidity, you need to control the light, because light works in frequencies, and those frequencies will damage your document, etc. and so forth. So archive documents need to be kept in very specific ways. And that is important to remember. But generally, if you archive something with me, I don't charge people to do that. Nakedi and I want the history. We want to keep our history, and that's because our history is our identity. It's your story. And that's what's important. It's more important for us to keep that identity and that story alive than to charge people for things.
Thank you. Doctor?
I wanted to check, you indicated that sponsors come knocking at your door without you lifting a finger. And I just want to know, what is it that you're doing better that we can learn from you as archives? Because our cry is the issue of funding. Also, those sponsors we would like to attract, even without lifting a finger as well. Also, the other comment is to Professor Sarumbe. Your presentation was very practical in terms of archival public programming. I just want to suggest with you, I know I had whispered, but I think it's for the benefit of the House as well, and maybe for National Archives to consider, to say, with what you were presenting, it seems like you can have ideas to assist us in mapping strategies that can assist us for public programming and creating awareness about archives, and also leveraging on those strategies that do not necessarily need money. I think National should consider doing a workshop for all archivists actually in the provinces, and invited to come and just sit down with us and try to make such strategies, and also to see how can we attract funding, leveraging on using tools like your TikTok and whatnot, influencers and whatnot. Thank you.
Great. Let me start by answering quickly as a start. One of my KPIs on my performance agreement is fundraising. Yeah, it really is. If my boss says no, they don't have the money, I say, okay, well, fine, I'll go fund it. And I've got 40 years of experience in the industry. I've been around. Everybody from Den Haag to Canada knows who I am. When you talk about me, you develop a reputation, and things come knocking on my door because people trust me, because I have a reputation. And word of mouth, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most powerful things. Think about how you treat people, and think about how you go about. I have people that's willing to give me money because they know where the money is going. And they know what I do with it. And they give money for things that they think are important. So those are important things. Nothing but the fundraising aspect of within archives. I often say to people, I started working professionally at Johannesburg Public Library. I went to Price Waterhouse, where I learned networking. At one stage, I had some of the Fortune 500 CEOs' personal contact details because they needed information. At the Beers, I got involved with digital archiving. I burnt my fingers in some aspects and didn't sleep for months at a time. But that's where I got involved in digital archiving. Those were career-changing aspects in my life. And those are things really that is really important. But as a student, my parents didn't have enough money to send me to university, so I worked full-time, I studied full-time to put myself through university. And while one of the things that I did to pay for my studies is I sold timeshare. And guess what? We had this really nice old Mr. Kruger that we worked for, very ethical young old gentleman, and he gave us sales training. That sales training was some of the most important training I've ever done in my life, because he taught me to negotiate. And that's how I get people to give me money.
Thank you for the comment. I think she's partly answered. At our next workshop, she's coming. We need to brainstorm. I think things are just, what we have to just take into consideration is that you are in an institution and you don't function along the same regulation framework with the government. Because the government, you know, there are restrictions. You don't just go asking for money. The government says, I have the money. We have to tell them to give us a bigger slice of the pie. And how do we do that? So I am open. I'm waiting for the invitation. So this is a very good year for me because I am on sort of a sabbatical. I'm not teaching. So if such offers come, this would be the year. I can even stay with you for a month. Yeah. So thank you for inviting me. This is something that I am truly passionate about. As you heard, I used to work here. I was a libraries person. But I went to the archives and found that nobody's talking about public programming and advocacy. So I took it as my gospel or mission, and I've run with it. I must say that people listen. And then one day, I was called by this organization called the International Council on Archives, and they said, Nams, can you lead our expert group on outreach and research services? Me, Nams, from South Africa. I'm not special or weird. Anybody can do it. So when you're passionate about something, things happen. So it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I would be open to do such an initiative. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I think mine is just two questions to answer. The first one is on the network that you mentioned. I'm here.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's on the network that you mentioned. I think it's called archival something network. My curiosity is to just know if it already exists, or is it a network which we are still planning to call all institutions to come and be part of it? Yeah, that's the first one. And by the way, I'm from the National Archives, so that's why I'm interested. And then the second one is on your comment on digitization. And you said digitization is not for archiving. And I don't know, I hope I got your statement correctly, but it's fine, you'll correct me. And if it is not for archiving, what is it for? Or what does the university use digitization for? And yeah, what is your stance on it? Because, I mean, I guess every institution in the world, even here in South Africa, archival repositories, university archives, they are talking about digitization. Private archivists or archival institutions, organizations are talking about digitization. So if the University of the Northwest is not talking about that, and they're not looking at it as a solution for archiving, especially for long term, what are you using to preserve your records for long term? Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, great. A couple of quick things. Networks is something that we built through our career. It's things that every place that you go, every person you meet, and these little people that sit down here at the moment, in 20 years, I want to be able to say, I know Dr. So-and-so. Those are networks. The network that I specifically refer to, the preservation network in the country, we've got a group of people that are talking about forming a consortium. And specifically because there are financial concerns. There are a lot of archives and there's a lot of institutions that need software, that need hardware, and none of us can actually afford, or a lot of these institutions can't afford our Atom and our Archivematica, like to the University of Northwest, because you're talking about R1 million and more. And we are looking at forming a consortium. And I will give you my card, or you know where I sit, and look me up on the web, and we need to talk. You need to become part of one of my network points. That is one of the things. And digitization, I didn't say digitization is not for archiving. I said we can't archive digitally. And we cannot do it because digital records deteriorate faster than paper records do. That's why I tell people, don't throw your paper away, don't go and digitize your theses and then throw the paper away, because the paper is still your best archiving medium. And what I did at De Beers, I stumbled on the you can't archive digitally thing in the hard way. In the mid-1990s, I wrote a digital archives for De Beers' Diamond Exploration arm. And 2 weeks after we started scanning, we realized that you cannot archive digitally, because basically what happens, colors are measured in Kelvin temperatures. And what we did with those, and that's how we realized you can't archive digitally, is because colors in diamond exploration is so incredibly important, we scanned all of those things with a UTT, a Kelvin temperature chart. So all our petrography records were scanned with a Kelvin temperature chart. So guess what? 2 weeks later, the Kelvin temperature colors on those documents had changed. And I stopped sleeping for about 8 months, because I built this entire blinking system to be digital. And what I recommend you do is 2 things. You create your first TIFF, because TIFF is your TIFF or RAW, are your archive, your digital archive file types. You create a dark archive folder, you open that document once to do your quality control, you stick it in the dark archive. Make a copy of the dark archive and stick it in a working archive folder. The other thing that is critically important is that in your cataloging field, at the 856 field where your URL is going to sit, you need a counter on that field, because that JPEG image needs to be replaced every 15 times or every 20 times or whatever you decide to work on. A very highly scientific area like the De Beers Diamond Exploration, you will have to do it every 15 times. In a normal paper document where you just want to be able to read it, you can do it once every 50 times. But it needs to be done. Those JPEGs need to be replaced, and they need to be freshened up, because otherwise, don't look on Google Docs. They did brilliant work, but go and have a look and see how many of those items you can still read. Most of them look as though your scanner was out of focus. You can't read those documents because the JPEG, and the reason we use JPEG, just to tell people, is JPEG, you can send to anybody can open it. If I send you a TIFF on a normal laptop, it's going to take an hour and a half to open one page on my laptop, because there's not enough RAM on the laptop. Okay, that's why so when you buy scanning equipment, also keep that in mind. You want a scanner that can give you JPEG, TIFF, text, so you can do OCR and the rest all at one place. Your high-end scanners can actually do that. What I suggest we do for digital archiving is a system called People. But come and talk to me at lunch, and I'll tell you more about it. It's a film-based system that can literally withstand an atom bomb or a neutron bomb without any damage to the film. And all you need is a light source and a very good pair of a magnifying glass. You need a light source and you need a magnifying glass. And you actually have your information back. That's the important thing. And I don't want, I'm a tech fanatic. I don't want to get rid of digital. I'm just saying that we can't throw away our paper, and we need to keep in mind that you need a hardware independent, a software independent, and then you need an archive medium. My preferred archive medium is People at this stage. It's something we need to keep in mind. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my first question was answered, but then maybe it's on the issue of the preservation network that you just spoke about. I was in Cape Town after the Jaeger level was burned down, and there were talks about establishing that. So probably I will talk to you over lunch too. But then my plea is that we have all these learners, and one of my colleagues said the majority of our guests are from schools. So maybe you are now talking big stuff without coming to them by indicating that you visit this school. I don't have what the names of the schools now. You go to this school and that school to assist them in creating their own archives and when. So probably just come to some commitments of some sort so that they live here knowing that there is a team from Northwest University which is going to come and assist us in creating our own archives. Thank you.
I think the last speaker will listen to it, and then from there I'll hand over to the closing remark by
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to pass this message to our young colleagues, especially because they are not aware of this. The work that we do is guided by standards. Standards that are created by international councils or international bodies, and then we adopt to those standards. We have metadata standards that helps you to create. When you create metadata, it guides you on what information you must put, so that when you search, you can use that information, and then the record that you are looking for then it appears. The most popular one is Dublin Core Standards, which is mostly used by the libraries. But we also have your metadata is so then you that are not well on much on the types of metadata because it's technical, there's administrative, there's descriptive metadata. So I think I might get you lost if I can try to explain too much. But what I'm just trying to say is that we are guided by standards that are created by international bodies, and then we adopt. Also with digitization, when you do digital imaging, 3 weeks ago I attended a training whereby we spoke about different types of digital imaging. But I'll just talk about the one that I remember now, which we dwelled on it, we trained on it, which is the metamorphosis standard. And it helps you to make sure that whatever record that you are digitizing, it represents the original document. So in terms of color accuracy and all the technical elements that are related that are included in the digitization process, those standards help us to make sure that whatever digital record that we are creating, it represents the original document or a picture in terms of color and everything. Yeah, that's what I can say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Joby, to me, for closing remarks from the Department of Education.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My job is very simple. My job is to thank everybody who's here. I am joining you from the Department of Education, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District, the office of our district director. So this schools around here, Botoka, it is our school in our JB Max Leo. Tomorrow we'll be getting to Blackstock. Another school that's going to participate there, it is Nkamasali in Matlosana, Leo. So the Archives Week It's in the district, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So let me thank the program director for directing this session excellently. And then all stakeholders who are here, who made an insightful input in this session. We recognize that. So as we come to the end of this important archive session, awareness session, really, as Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, we extend our sincere appreciation to everyone who made a contribution. Jacqueline Jansen van Veren, your remarks when you welcome us all here were also excellent. All of us demonstrated our collective commitment to preserving and promoting our history and heritage. It's very important that we know where we are going, especially these youngsters that are amongst us. My colleague outside said to me that you know, some of these youngsters, they don't know history in the sense that there was once a Botswana in the Northwest. They only know Northwest, but they don't know the culmination of events that led us to have this Northwest. They only know Northwest, but this Northwest was originally Botswana. So I don't want to delve more into that. I'm challenging you, young ones, to go and make a research and find out what is this Botswana. It was a Bantustan. But please go and read more and find out more about it, so that you know your history. Our history specialists also made a very important contribution, that our history has to be decolonized, so that our history is informed by the present. And then it's important that archives are not merely old records. No, no. Archives are not merely old records stored in shelves. Today we talk digital, we talk IT, we talk AI. But the lady made a very important contribution that, you know, you may have all these things, but something in paper is very important there in the shelf, because it is there to stay. But take care of it. She knows when I say take care of it, she talked about the humidity and all this jargon. But take care of it, because it is your last resort. So it's very important. We'd like to thank you for that meaningful contribution. And then also, archives, they are the memory of our nation, our communities, and our institutions. They tell the story of where we come from, the struggles and achievements of our people, and the legacy we leave for future generations to come. Through archives, we are able to protect valuable information, promote accountability, and preserve the identity of our society. Today's session indeed has reminded us of the importance of proper record keeping, preservation of historical information, and encouraging young people amongst ourselves here encouraging young people to appreciate the value of history and heritage. Let us take the knowledge gained here. Let us take the knowledge gained here and apply it within our schools, our offices, and our communities. Remember, I have given you an assignment. You must go and find out what is Futa-Tswana. Our expert history talked about the what, the where, the why, and the how. So we must follow that and find out why Futa-Tswana, how Futa-Tswana was conceived, and all those things. So to our learners, our special guests, you are our special guests because you are the tomorrow. Hence, you are our special guests. We are encouraged to become custodians of our history by documenting, preserving, and respecting the stories of your families, schools, and communities, and so on. Once again, thank you to all organizers who made this possible. Once again, the presenters who enlightened us with this information. Even some of us didn't know some of the issues. You know, we learned a lot, or I learned a lot. So that has also had a meaningful, and it was also impactful. May this awareness program continue to inspire us to preserve our past while building a better future. Thank you very much, Program Director. Thank you all.
In relation to everyone who presented here. The last person to close this program, Kim Nakedi Ramshava, who's going to the presentation and gift to all the presenters who presented in here.
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Nakedi Ramshava. I'm the deputy archivist at Northwest University. So, as a token of appreciation to our speakers and our presenters, I've got some Morayana gifts here. Initially, I had some few people on the list, but I had to take them out because of our future archivists here who gave us a nice presentation. So, my gifts are going to them. I'm not going to tell you who was here on the list, but after that wonderful presentation from you, you are my heroes today. Thank you very much. I will start with our program director here. There's something for you from our archives. I don't know how to pronounce the surname. Professor Nams. Oh, this is nice. Thank you very much. This is Zipporah. And then who is, Mr. Manenze. Where is and our guest of honor, beautiful learners, the four presenters, can you please come forward?
our program ends early. Okay. I'm not sure what is being prepared for all of us. I'm not sure what is
Lunch.